حبیب است و نشان حبیب
On this edition of The Debate.
Tonight we will discuss the foreign orchestrated war on Syria.
Be a part of the show and send us your questions via Facebook, Twitter, or even SMS. Don't miss The Debate. Only on Press TV.
The headlines: at least 11 children and 2 women are killed in a US-led airstrike in Afghanistan's eastern province of Kunar. At least 1 person is killed in clashes that erupted in the Egyptian capital, Cairo, following a Christian funeral procession. And a cyber attack on Israel's official website. The hackers say they want to erase Israel from the internet. Live from Tehran, you're watching Press TV's World News. Welcome. Afghan President Hamid Karzai has strongly condemned the latest civilian casualties by US-led foreign forces in eastern Afghanistan. He's ordered an investigation into the deadly incident. At least 11 children and 2 women were killed in the latest US-led airstrike in the town of Shigal in Kunar province. Local officials say several more women were also killed in the airstrike on Saturday night.
11 children have been killed, aging from 1-year-old to 8 years old. This is the 5th incident that I remember that children and women have been killed. There is no proof that Al Qaeda or any other militants were killed.
Press TV's correspondent says people in Chagall have carried the bodies of the children to the governor's office and chanted slogans against foreign forces. Local officials say the air raid was conducted to support a ground military operation against Taliban militants. Afghan and US-led foreign forces were jointly carrying out the operation that led to the death of an American military advisor. US-led foreign forces have confirmed the airstrike in Kunar, where American soldiers are stationed. Civilian casualties at the hands of foreign forces have long been a source of friction between Kabul and Washington. Afghan President Hamid Karzai has dismissed the Deputy Interior Minister for disobedience. Jamil Junbish is accused of allowing some private security companies to rearm after their weapons were confiscated under a presidential decree. Karzai is strongly opposed to operations by security firms. The Afghan president has also recently ordered US Special Forces to leave Vardak province, accusing them of torturing, killing and looting local people. In the headlines, fresh clashes have broken out between Christians and Muslims in the Egyptian capital, Cairo, leaving one person dead and several others injured. The violence comes a day after 4 Coptic Christians and a Muslim were killed in the Ghalibiyya governorate. Police fired tear gas to disperse Muslims and Christians clashing outside Cairo's Coptic cathedral after a funeral ceremony for 4 Copts killed on Saturday. Local reports say the tension started after mourners chanted slogans against the ruling Muslim Brotherhood Party. The Interior Ministry says violence broke out after a number of mourners started damaging cars in the area. On Saturday, some Coptic boys drew a crucifix on the front wall of a Muslim religious institute in the Ghalibiyya governorate, sparking clashes between the Copts and Muslims. Also in Egypt, train drivers and conductors are on a strike to demand better pay. Trains have stopped running from Cairo, the Mediterranean port city of Alexandria, and Tantar in the Nile Delta. The walkout has disrupted train services around the country with long lines of angry passengers. The strike began hours after Transport Minister Hatem Abdul Latif okayed a 10% rise in the bonuses given to railway workers. Train drivers and conductors have rejected the hike, saying it's too little. The industrial action comes after a night of clashes between police and opposition supporters outside the capital's main courthouse. Israel has come under a massive cyber attack. Hackers have targeted the website pages of the Ministry of Military Affairs and the spy agency Mossad. The hacker group Anonymous had warned it would launch a massive hacking assault to protest Israel's policy toward Palestinians. Several websites reported slowdowns on Saturday night. Anti-Israel activists have listed 1,300 websites as targets. Sites owned by the Bank of Israel, Tax Authority and the Central Bureau of Statistics are among the targets. Several privately owned sites have also come under attack. Israeli officials claim the hackers have failed to cause serious disruption. Earlier we talked to our correspondent in Jerusalem, Al-Quds, Ibrahim Hosseini. He told us more about the targets as well as the reasons behind these massive cyber attacks.
I just checked the website of the Central Bureau of Statistics, and it's not operating. Throughout the day, the website of the Prime Minister of Israel was not working, but about 15 minutes ago it was up and running again. So it appears that the cyber attackers will attack a website, succeed for some amount of time, and then the tech experts would find a solution to this attack, a way to stop it. But nonetheless, it has been consistent. On their press releases, they linked these latest attacks on the latest attack on Gaza back in November of 2012. particularly on this attack. And also they've mentioned the Israeli violations since the existence of Israel in 1948, citing land confiscation, settlements, human rights violations, and so on.
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry has arrived in the occupied West Bank for talks with Palestinian officials. Kerry has held a meeting with acting Palestinian Authority Chief Mahmoud Abbas. The so-called Middle East peace process is said to have been on the agenda. Kerry has also travelled to Tel Aviv to hold talks with Israeli officials. Earlier, Kerry met with Turkish Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan and Foreign Minister Ahmed Davutoglu in Istanbul. He pressed Ankara to restore full diplomatic ties with Israel.
We would like to see this relationship that is important to stability in the Middle East, critical to the peace process itself. We would like to see this relationship get back on track in its full measure. To be back on track in its full measure, it is imperative that the compensation component of the agreement be fulfilled, that the ambassadors be returned, and that full relationship be embraced.
Kerry also said Washington and Ankara will work closely together for a speedy transition in Syria. He also referred to the latest round of negotiations between Iran and the P5+1 group of countries in the Kazakh city of Almaty. He claimed the talks over Iran's nuclear energy program will not be open-ended. His visit has angered the Turkish public. Police have arrested 8 anti-US protesters who were furious at Kerry's visit. The former British Prime Minister is once again in the spotlight for going to war with Iraq. A new report has revealed that Tony Blair was informed that Iraq had no weapons of mass destruction. The MI6 has told the Chilcot inquiry that Blair had been told that the former Iraqi dictator only had a trivial number of weapons of mass destruction and Libya was a greater threat. Intelligence officials have disclosed that Blair had no objections to the fact before meeting with former US President George W. Bush in 2002. They say he came back from the Crawford weekend with Bush a changed man. According to the evidence given to the Chilcot inquiry, the former premier later ordered faking intelligence to justify going to war with Iraq. The National Security and Foreign Policy Commission of Iran's parliament says the Saudi diplomat who's killed an Iranian driver has been banned from leaving the country. Press TV's Salman Kujuri has this report.
Still following up the case, the National Security and Foreign Policy Commission of the Iranian parliament, together with the Iranian Foreign Ministry, are still following up the case of a Saudi diplomat who has recently killed an Iranian citizen. Yasser bin Mohammad Ali Yami is a Saudi diplomat who rammed his vehicle into a car in northern Tehran, killing the Iranian driver and injuring a passerby a few weeks ago. Documents show that the Saudi embassy staffer was drunk at the time of the accident.
According to the tests conducted at the hospital 3 hours after the accident, alcohol levels in the Saudi diplomat's blood was around 2.87%, which is higher than normal. We respect the international convention, but the same convention says that diplomats should respect the laws of the country in which they reside.
Although medical documents showed that the Saudi embassy staffer was drunk, the foreign minister of Saudi Arabia denies reports that he had been drunk. This is while Iranian police have found several bottles of alcoholic beverage in the Saudi diplomat's car.
Members of the Iranian parliament have called on Iran's foreign ministry not to allow the Saudi diplomat to leave the country until his case is legally closed.
The Saudi diplomat has been banned from leaving Iran until justice is done for the family of the victim.
Youssef Farhani, the Iranian driver, was a father of 2. His family members want the Saudi diplomat to stand trial under Iranian law. Iran says the diplomatic immunity for diplomats does not cover violation of traffic laws, and diplomats will be punished for traffic offenses. Salman Kujuri, Press TV, Tehran.
You're watching Press TV's World News. We're going to go to a very short break now, but before that, Arash is here to tell us what's coming up on Sports International shortly. Arash, what do you have for your fans?
We got news of tennis. France is tied with Argentina in the quarterfinals of the Davis Cup thanks to a victory by its world number 8. Stick around for tennis news and a whole lot more on the Press TV Sports.